Hello, everyone. How are you today? I'd like to thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you so much for the storytellers for coming and sharing your story about love. We also know that love can heal. So before we bring our speakers to the floor, I wanted to share this passage with you. I think it's one that most of us have heard before, and it's that love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, it always protects, it always trusts, always hopes, and love never fails. 4 through 8. And I just thought that was that people are sharing. It is so powerful, and it just shows us how love impacts all, how we all experience it so differently, but yet the same. So we have a number of storytellers today, but our first was Kelli Dillon. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce Kelli and read her. Kelli, the floor will be all yours, okay? All right. Kelli Dillon, and an advocate for violence protection and intervention. Kelli found her in December 1995 and was sentenced to serve a 15-year sentence. She was convicted for shooting and killing her husband while defending herself from domestic violence. Her advocacy and community social work began while in prison. Her creativity as an educator and facilitator blossomed as she was hosting events to emotionally support and spiritually motivate the inmates. At the age of 33, she was finally released in March of 2009 after serving 14 years at Central California's women's facility in Chowchilla, California. In 2014, Kelli worked as an advocate with Justice Now alongside of Senator Hanson on the SB 1135 anti-sterilization bill. She testified in front of the California State Senate as a witness to the unlawful and uncivil acts performed against women in the California towards women's rights and reproductive health. Her testimony was key in helping the Senate. Senator Jerry Brown passed this bill into law. Kelli is now the co-chairperson of the Empowerment Congress Southeast Neighborhood Council. She received several awards for her passionate work in the community of Los Angeles. Kelli graduated in 2016 from Los Angeles Southwest College with an associate in behavioral science and plans to further her education to receive her bachelor's degree in public policy and social work. These certifications of training in the areas of anger management, domestic violence, batterers intervention program, therapy, and STI education. We would like to welcome Kelli to share her story of love.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Shawna, so much for reading my biography. I appreciate that. It kind of touched me as I was listening because it took me back. I've come so far in the work that I've done. So sometimes to take that look back, it is touching and it's humbling at the same time. So as you say, at the age of 19, I was incarcerated for shooting and killing my abuser. But there's a story prior to that. And that's the story that's really centered around, as the theme is, which is love. So for me, when I was 14 years old, I became pregnant. Immediately I felt love growing inside of me. A lot of people asked me, did I want to either give up my child because I was still a child myself? But I said no, and I felt in the love that instantly sparked inside of me for my child, motivated me to do my best in order to care for my child. I grew up in Watts, where there's a lot of survival crisis situations going on, and young women, especially like myself, African American women, we grow up real fast in Watts, California. And so me being a mother at the age of 14, 15 years old propelled me into life, having to make choices. So when I finally gave birth at the age of 15, I looked in my son's eyes and I knew for the first time what love, unconditional love, felt like. But because I was 15 years old, I was unable to truly care for my son the way I needed to. And in that moment, society, like in those moments, I had to make choices of how I was going to get milk, how I was going to get diapers, how I was going to get food and things like that as my son began to grow. Society may look down on some of my methods of trying to care for my children, but no one will understand what a mother's desperation will lead to. I actually went into areas of selling drugs, doing things that I wouldn't normally do if it was just me to feed my children. But when you're looking down at somebody that is innocent and pure, it's just that you're willing to do whatever. And so by the time I was 16 years, I ended up getting into another relationship in which someone said that they loved me, and that they wanted to care for me. And I ended up having another child at the age of 16. But due to the fast life, due to hardships in the hood, we call it in the hood, but due to hardships in the hood, he ended up becoming incarcerated, and I found myself alone again. So around about 17 years old, I met a man who came through like a knight in shining armor. And he said that that I was too precious, that I was too valuable to have to struggle alone, and that he wanted to be there with me. He wanted to walk me through the process of life. He wanted to give my children a father that they could look up to. Now, even though I began to care and love this man for him, I guess, taking pity on me, but the love that I have for my children and wanting to give them more and wanting them to have a two-parent home and all the things that other people I feel like could give their children is what pretty much influenced my decision to get married at such a young age. And shortly, like a month after I was married, I end up suffering the most horrifying, abusive, and violent episode that I had ever faced in my life. That was the beginning of abuse in my life. And then right after each episode, my husband would come and he would hug me and he would hold me and he would say, "Babe, I'm sorry. I love you so much. I'm just afraid to lose you. I'm just afraid to lose you." And because I had yet really known how to receive love, or I wasn't really familiar of what being loved truly was, I accepted his love. But as each day and each month went by and I continued to accept his love, the love for myself began to decrease and slowly drift away. And as I was going through these violent episodes, maybe once a week, twice a week or so, my children, I thought I was protecting my children. I thought I was shielding them from the abuse, but they were watching it through the walls, watching it through the door, through cracked doors. They were watching me hurt, get beat up, get dragged on the floor. And then one day when my husband, after the violent episode, when my husband left, my son came out of the room and he put his hands on my face like this. And he says, Mama, you are so beautiful. And he was only 4 years old when he said that. And at the time that he said that, I had blood coming out of my mouth. I had tears coming down my face. And he put his hands in my hands and he said, Mom, you so beautiful. I love you. And I don't know, as a 4-year-old, what if he knew what love was. But what my eyes looking into his eyes is what actually gave me the strength to say that they deserve better. And so I tried to leave about 3 times. And each time I left, my husband would find me. My husband would threaten everyone around us that if I didn't come, he was going to kill them. And so I began to feel like my husband was more powerful than anything. And so finally, in one last episode, my husband, when I was leaving and trying to flee DV, my husband had threatened to kill me and the children if I didn't come back. And then I made it up in my mind that I needed to do what was necessary to protect my children and I, especially my children who deserved a life of freedom, of laughter, of being able to just grow up without fear, without pain, without panic. I made a decision to protect myself. And in one last episode, I armed myself with a gun. I ended up shooting and killing my abuser, and then I went to jail. And before I did, I was able to go back to where, before the police arrested me, I was able to go back to where my children were at and see them one last time and hold them. And when the police came and got me and they found me with both my children in my arms while I was waiting for them to take me into custody. And that was the last memory and the feeling of being with my children. So about 7 years later, as I began to heal and strengthen myself and try to have a relationship with my children over in beyond the prison walls, I came across a book that changed my whole entire life. And it was Harriet Jacobs' The Narratives of a Slave Girl. And in that book, it stated that a slave girl who was fleeing the abuse, the sexual assault of her oppressor, her master, her slave master, she ended up taking her children to relatives. And what she did was, after taking her children to a relative, she hid in the wall and watched them grow up safely, free, up north with her family, as she stayed in the wall, because she knew that once she came out that they were in danger because the slave master will be coming after her. And I connected to her story that love, she, for 7 years, she hid in a wall. And just like for 15 years, I was behind a wall watching my children grow up through the crack, like basically like a crack through the wall. And no one else can tell me that I didn't do it out of love. I was labeled a killer. I was labeled unfit. I was labeled all these things, but not understanding that I was just a mom that was trying to survive, that loved her children more than she loved herself. And so I just wanted to share to those mothers out there that have had to give up their children to another relative because they may not have enough financially to care for them, or maybe they were going through substance abuse because of the pain or trauma in their life and could not fully care for them the way they wanted to, or if they were fleeing domestic violence and knew that if they held on to the children, it was more dangerous to hold on to the children than to let them go, and they had to separate themselves. That I know that you did it out of love, and that I identify with your love as a mother and all the things that you are willing to do in order to survive and make sure that the person that you love survives. And that's my story. I don't know if Shawna can hear me. And maybe I stopped a little early. I don't know, but I just
No.
wanted I just didn't want to begin to break down, because when I go back into the memory of where I came from, like I said, sometimes it touches me in ways that even still surprise me to this day. So thank you, Shawna. Thank you for all the other storytellers that's here today. And thank you for all the attendees that you even took time out of your day to hear someone else's story. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. Seconds or so after each storyteller for us to all just digest it. Because like I said earlier, these are powerful, powerful stories. To allow us to just have a glimpse into your life and for sharing with us. Thank you, for being here and for sharing that. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure if Denise is back. Is Denise back? Hello, Denise. So we have another great storyteller who is here to share her story about love and again how it shows up, in her life. So I'm going to tell you all a little bit about Denise before she gets started. Denise Marshall was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. She completed her BA at UCLA and recently also completed her master's degree in social welfare at UCLA. Denise is a committed advocate for people who have faced social and economic justice, and as a result of past incarceration. She is the mother of a 2-year-old daughter and is continuing to learn, especially from her daughter, about what it means to love and to be loved. Denise, we welcome you to the stage to share your story.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Beth, for inviting me, and thank you, Shawna, for the fantastic introduction. I want to also thank Kelly and Mihal. Your stories were fantastic. I'm so emotional because you women are beautiful. And your stories of love are so beautiful. So I'm muting my camera at first because I still have a lot of shame associated with my story. I started school late, but I had a lot of, I want to say, tribulation in the early years of my life. I had a lot of different descriptions of different illustrations, different ideas of what love should be or could be, but I'm not really sure exactly what it is in my life. For the most part, most of my stories about my mom. My mother, when I was maybe 12, 11, she said something to me that stuck with me for many, many years. It was, I should have dropped you off on your father's doorstep, counted my losses, and got the fuck on, right? Like, who says that to a very angry, very troubled, multi-system impacted, multi-ACE adverse childhood experience, recipient? I'm like, who says that to their child? But I didn't understand. I developed a real deep-hearted resentment for my mother for years and years and years that had eventually turned into actual physical combat between her and I because I was so angry. I didn't know how to express it. I was also involved in the juvenile justice system and all that trauma that goes along with that. But what I didn't understand as a child was that even though she said that, she didn't drop me off on his doorstep. She loved me the best way she could. She loved me the best way she could. And I'm so grateful for her. Because all my life, I chased so many different versions of love from him, wanting to be the perfect partner, lover, friend for him, where I put myself in jeopardy. Similar to your story, Kelly. I was in a relationship that was very violent, very, very violent. I suffered, abuse, majority of the relationship, all the way up until the end, almost. The relationship lasted about 4 years. We relocated from, city to city where the violence, reoccurred, and we have to move to another city until finally in 1999, I'd had it up to here. I'd had it up to here with this, dealing with it. And I didn't have the courage to walk away. So one day I decided I was going to leave my boyfriend at the time, and he decided that wasn't going to happen. So he intended to murder me, and he ended up killing himself that night. After that, I was in a total disarray because I didn't know if he loved me. I didn't know how he could possibly love me. I felt that prior to that, my mother couldn't possibly love me, given some of the neglect that I had faced. And I was catapulted into this, I want to say, into like this game of trying to figure out what love was for me in my life. It had gotten to the point where I'd already been involved in gang most of my life. So, they were a form of love for me as well, because they created and gave me a family, some type of basis to move from, even though it was warped. It was mine. It was my decision. It was my home. It was my folks. So trying to find what love looked like, looked further and further, very, very distant. So for many years, I searched to find what love was, which, during the process of, dealing with trauma, I got involved with drugs, and I ended up being a sex worker on a few avenues in Los Angeles. Therefore, I developed a criminal record, and that made it more difficult. It gave me, I want to say a social disability, in addition to the potential trauma that I faced. And trying to continue to move forward, made it more and more and more difficult to love myself, because I couldn't find a reason. I couldn't find any value in myself, because when I walked down the street, the people looked at me like I was trash because I was out there selling my body, or because he didn't love me the right way, or he decided, abusing me was the way he showed love. So it made me feel like I wasn't lovable, or looking at the way society looks at women who tolerate abuse was more shameful. So I ran into people's arms, who's ever arms. So, the time just continued to move on, and I continued to feel like I was stagnated because I couldn't see myself being loved or being lovable by my mother. There were key moments. Angry with her. There were key moments that she was there. The countless court appearances. When you catch cases, these court appearances like month after month after month, or coming out in the street and to the street to catching the bus from some distant city like Riverside. Or her finally telling me she was sorry for not protecting me in the ways that she should have, only because she didn't know how, because she wasn't protected. And having that begin to heal me one day at a time, and being the best thing ever in my life, knowing that I had a solid line of love that I could attach myself to. It was very painful, because I had to grow and do some introspection and let go of some of the pain, and understand that my mom, she's a woman too. A woman who's experienced trauma and felt so many things, and abandonment and hurt and disappointment, and all of those things we feel as women that we stuff inside and continue to push forward with, trying to conceal them as we move step by step. And then having my mother, walk me through this miracle that just happened in my life. Just a mere 2 years ago. I'm 43, my daughter is 2. I never thought that I would be a mother, ever, never, ever. And then having my mom just be there every step of the way. I never knew that having a child would do so much for me, so much to me, and bring everything around full circle. I can't say that, developing the love and nurturing the love and growing the love has been easy. No, it hasn't, because every there's ebb and flow to everything. But it has brought out so much, just the full stream of love from my mom, from me to my daughter, and how, in fact, that in the ways that that I'm not fully equipped, that I don't have the capacity to, the love that I don't have the capacity to give my daughter, expressed in the way my mother has, make me so warm and mushy, because I know that my daughter's getting everything that she needs, even if I myself can't provide it for her, because I know my mother loves me, and I love my mother. It's allowed me to, I guess, gently sift through some of the fears, settle some of the hurts, sweep away some of the pain, and process what it looks like today, and start from there. It feels new, and it feels warm, and it feels loving. It feels loving. For the first time in my life, I feel real love from my daughter, where she looks at me and I'm her everything. You know what I mean? I'm her everything. And now I look at my mom like she's my everything. Because if there's no her, there would be no me. And she decided that she wasn't gonna drop me off on his doorstep and get the fuck on. She thought that I was worth loving. And it didn't compute as an angry adolescent child. And how grateful I am today that that even though life has its stuff, that the love I know that exists is constant. It's constant. There's nothing that anybody can do to change the fact that I know that there's a love that I have, both for my daughter and for my mother. It's been my strength. It's been my everything. It motivates me when I don't feel like it, when I feel like the uncontrollable anxiety or depression is just not letting me move, because the weights of life just weigh heavy, but I feel like I have to because my mother, because she loves me and she's always wanted the best for me, and even though we still argue, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, mom, and I'm so grateful that I can say, okay, mom, because I remember when I used to fight my mother. I remember when I used to be so angry when I used to hurt my mother. And I'm so grateful, because all I want to do now is love her for the rest of her natural life, just like I love my daughter for the rest of her natural life. So that's why I am with love. It's new right now, and it's new, and it's developing, and it's engulfing, and it's overwhelming, and it's awe-inspiring, and it's the love of my life. It's the love of my life right now, and that's my love. Thank you.
Oh, Denise, that was wonderful. That was powerful. You said really, really interesting things. And, one of the things that you said was how society looks at women who experience, even with all of that, even through all of that, you were able and you are beginning to find love through your pain, and that's admirable. And to be able to speak that is even more healing. There's so much power in our words. And so I want to so much for sharing your story, going through the ebb and flow, because we all go through the ebb and flow, whether we act like we all go through the ebb and the flow. So thank you for that. And as well as just, finding that relationship, with your mom and looking at what, like, a lot of times that does help us, also parent and, finding that straight line and knowing that no matter what, and even in retrospect, thinking, how you used to fight with her and all those things. And you know what? Mom still showed up. And that's the same thing that most of us do for our children. We find it and we show up, and we show up really by any means necessary. Oftentimes we do. So thank you so much for that. And thank you so much, for showing your emotions as well as showing your strength.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our next storyteller actually sent in a video. So she's not here for us to say thank you, but she knew that her internet was going to be a little unstable. But I'm still going to take this time to introduce her and to share a little bit about her. And then Beth will go on and share her story. So our next storyteller is Christa Sacco. And Christa is a liberation psychologist. She's a community researcher, theater artist, and educator who is passionate about research, projects, and community-led that focus on disrupting the legacy of colonism, white supremacy, and racism throughout the world by building communities of resilience, hope, and so with that, Beth, are you going to take video?
Hi everyone, thanks for listening today. Thank you to Repair for giving me a spot in the lineup to talk about love today. I have a little story and I want to say the message is going to be about love and how it fuels my warrior spirit and the drive to be a warrior for change and healing. And the story starts with talking about my ancestors. They're the ones who give me my character, and it's their love that makes me who I am today and allows me to continue on my path to fight for a world where love isn't taken with a healthy dose of skepticism. So, my grandparents, they're like, living gods to us. They're the connection to the ancestors, and we just admire them so much. We would go to visit them outside the DC area every year, maybe sometimes a couple times a year, to visit with them. My grandfather would greet us, and he would call us his boys. Where's my boys? And he taught me my first curse word. He told me I was probably 4 years old at the time, and he told me I was writing the word shirt, and he told me how to spell it. And I wrote it out, and he was so proud of me. And he said, "Now go show your mom." And I showed it to my mom, and she started laughing. And then they told me that I wrote the S word. After that, whenever he took like a family photo or something, instead of saying cheese, he would say, "Y'all know the S word?" Yeah, my grandfather, he also had a serious side because he was a scientist. He was an organic chemist, and he was also a colonel in the army. Yeah, his whole life he did military missile testing, and he worked for the Joint Chief of Staff in the Pentagon. But to us, he was granddaddy. And the thing that really defined him was his character, the way that he was spontaneous, and he really just brought things to life and was always there for us to just make things light and make things better. We would go down there for Thanksgiving every year, and he would tell us stories. He liked to. His hobby was refurbishing old antique furniture, so he would sit us around the oak table that he had in the living room that he refurbished and tell us stories about who we were and our past. And I was just a young thing. I don't know if he knew that I was listening, but he told us how he and my grandmother came both from the same island, a small island on the western side of Virginia, and on the bay side, where there's a small free settlement of indigenous Native Americans and free black people, and that over time they slowly moved east towards Newport News, first in the rural areas, living kind of in rural poverty, sharecropping, and then eventually making it into Newport News. So he knew my grandmother his whole life, and their families both moved to Newport News around the same time, so they were always around each other. And I remember, even when he started getting sick towards the end of his life, he still made it a point to make memories with us. We would watch family movies together. I remember we were having a hard time choosing what movie to watch, and we settled on a Denzel Washington movie. And my grandfather was there, and it turned out he loved it because his favorite scene was where they put C4 in someone's butt, and he rejoiced over that scene after the movie was over. We all laughed. And we went to go see him when he was sick, and he'd just come out of surgery. He was dying of pancreatic cancer, and he'd just come out of treatment and surgery, and he was recuperating at home, and we went to go see him. And when we got there, my grandmother said, he's resting right now, so wait for him to wake up and all that. And my mother looked at me and she said, "It's okay, Christa. You can go wake him up if you want. Shh, don't tell anyone. I told you." So I went into the room and I saw my grandfather, and I was just watching him at first. And he woke up and he saw me, and he started crying because he said he didn't think he'd ever see it, wasn't sure that he would ever see any of us again. And he told me what he'd been through with getting treatment and getting surgeries and things, and that he was weak and he needed to rest now. And then he finished it all off, and he smiled and he said, "But I'm still bad, Chrissy. I'm still bad." And then everyone else came in, and he got very emotional. And later that day, he came over to me while I was by myself, and he gave me a book. It was the complete works of Shakespeare, and he told me that I was the one that he wanted to take on his work and to carry the family forward in the future. So it's always been them guiding me on my path and showing me what my role is, and giving me the strength and the courage to keep fighting. And my grandmother, she loved my grandfather. After he died, when I would go to visit her, she would just tell me that she didn't have a husband there anymore, and how she just wanted to see her husband again. The story of how they decided to get married when they were young, my grandfather would take her out dancing, and they would do like the swing dancing with the couples, and like all the fancy swing dancing stuff. And they would go out late with my grandfather's military friends, and he would bring her home after curfew. And her father said, "The next time you bring home my daughter this late, it'll be the last time." My grandfather told her father, "Then I'll just marry your daughter, so I'll never have to bring her home again." And soon after that, he asked for permission to marry her, and they were married. And he got her out of that small town, and they traveled the country together, had a family. And so I want to end with this poem that my grandmother wrote towards the end of her life. She was writing poems. And this is one of them that I thought that came up right away this morning when I opened my computer. So I'll read it for you, and I'll say her name. She just transitioned recently, and I'll be going to DC soon, back to my ancestral lands, to bury her at the Arlington Memorial Cemetery in Arlington. So this is the poem. It's called "The Sea of Life." Let me grab it here really quick. The Sea of Life. Our lives are very much like the sea. There are days of calm and joy and peacefulness. There are days of rough waters, and we struggle to stay afloat. We sometimes encounter the undercurrent in the sea of life, and we are sucked under and lost at sea. Then the waves suddenly subside, and the sun comes out, and all is calm and peaceful again. There are those of us that never enter the sea of life. We are content to just sit on the banks of the sea. The struggle is too difficult. We sit with no hopes and dreams. Life is a mixture of hopes and dreams, failures and success, joy and tears. Life is an adventure, and each day our strength is tested. We are given the gift of life, and we often squander it. We never see the beauty of the world, nor feel the love that surrounds us. With the gift of life, we are challenged to do all that we can for humankind. Follow your heart and the goodness of your soul. We can then find the strength to survive and stay afloat in the sea of life. We must not be content to sit on the banks of the sea with no hopes and dreams. Lethia Pearson. Thank you.
I don't know how well the sound was coming through, but we will also put Christa's story up on our YouTube archive and send it to everybody who was with us today. So if you need to replay it, you'll be able to. Thanks, everyone. Christa is on a farm today, and the reception is very unreliable. So she's been trying to get to us, but was not able to. But she planned ahead.
This is not on, but her story, it was really beautiful, and just showing how we get love from so many places. You know, we get it from our parents, our grandparents, you know, our community, people who just genuinely support us and love us. You know, and I think her really powerful about, you know, hopes and dreams, and, you know, the struggle that also comes with love. Love is beautiful, but love can also be very painful. But, you know, the fact that we have that hope to come out on the other end it keeps us going. And so I'd like to thank her, but I can't. So we'll just put good love and light in the air for her, as she mentioned, I guess, about her grandmother. So we're going to move to our last storyteller, and that is Christine. Christine, I think I'm going to ask you to take. Promise I practice the word in your bio, but I still might. You could just help me. I would appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. So our next storyteller is Christine Stark. Liv Anashibi, and help me, Christine. Anishinabe, and award-winning writer, researcher, visual artist, and national and international speaker. Her first novel, Nichols, A Tale of Disassociation, Lambda Literary Finalist. Her essays, poems, academic writing, and creative nonfiction have numerous publications, including the Palgrave Journal, The Whip, the Florida Review, the Chalk Circle, Weaver, Queer Seminal Poets on the Mid-East Experience, Hawk and Handsaw, the Journal of Creative Sustainability, and many others. Her poem, Mama's Song, was recorded by Fred Ho and the Asian Music Ensemble as a double manga CD. She is also a co-author of the groundbreaking research Garden of Truth, the prostitution and trafficking of Native women in Minnesota. Primary research she conducted with Native women survivors of prostitution and trafficking on the ships in Duluth, Minnesota is included in her article, Strategies to Restore Justice of Sex-Trafficked Native Women. She is also co-author and co-researcher of Evidence of Survivor, Agency and Researcher Collaboration, an example of an emerging model of survivor well-being. Her writing has been nominated twice for a Pushcart Prize. In 2012, she was named a change maker by the Women's Press and was a Law Series Mentor finalist. In 2019, she received the International Social Justice Citizen Award from the International Leadership. She has appeared in numerous media, including NPR, NPR, PBS, Justice Talking, and Robin Morgan's radio show. She has spoken at law schools, conferences, rallies, and at the United Nations 4 times. She has taught writing and humanity courses at universities and community colleges for 18 years and has worked as a Two-Spirit program at Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. St. Paul, consults with a variety of local and national organizations, and teaches writing college. She is a member of the Minnesota Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Task Force. She has her second novel, Carnival Light, will be published in February 2021. Thank you, Christine, for sharing your story.
Yeah, miigwech. I'm really honored to be here. I'm honored to be a part of this. I'm honored that all of you are taking your time out to listen to us talk. I think my connection is not so great, so I apologize for that, but hopefully it's good enough. My English name is Christine Stark, or Chris Stark, and my Anishinaabe name is Nagamo Zibi Unse Kwe, which means Little Singing River Woman. And I'm gonna just read a little excerpt from my first novel, Nichols, A Tale of Dissociation, a very nice cover. I like that cover a lot. I was gonna read something from my new novel at the last second. I just changed my mind, and it seems to really be the piece I'm gonna read here, fitting with what everyone else is talking about today. And one thing before I do this reading is I just want to say that, there's a lot to say about love and healing and ancestors and land and so on, and the meaning of life, right? And I just want to say one thing. A friend of mine, Babette Sandman, she's Anishinaabe from White Earth. She was working with Native youth and Native girls in the juvenile justice system, which is we shouldn't call it juvenile justice system, we should call it juvenile injustice system, right? And she, was doing, she would do a new thing every week, and she had everything all planned out. And then one day she just said, what is it that you girls want to know about? And a 12-year-old who was in the group said, I want to know what love is. And so I think that's profound, and I think that is what motivates us in the world, whether we know it or not, and whether we act in good ways or not. You're going to see my reader glasses, which I'm horrified by, but what can I do? I can't read without them. So this is this book. This particular excerpt is 1978, and our protagonist is 10 years old. She's an Ojibwe girl, an Anishinaabe, that's another word for Anishinaabe, living in St. Paul, Minnesota. It starts out with, sit down, you little weirdo, Mad Dad snaps. Uh-oh, I made him mad by walking backwards. Now he'll beat me till I bleed, steed, feed. Sit down, he says. So I slouch, couch, fouch, down fast so he can't see my stomach, dummick, covered by the table, fable, pable. He scoops sloppy Joe meat in his mouth covered with a roll, looks at me with his eyebrows crumpled. We had an incident at school today, Mom says. Why does she tell? What, he says, slapping meat. I give up, stop being scared. My body collapses. The secretary says she didn't give us her permission slip, to sign, I stop listening. My ears go away inside my head. I don't care. He's going to beat me. Can't stop him, so I don't care. Mom tells on me, Mad Dad crushes bread between his fingers. I slouch down, don't listen. Little Miss So-and-so, he says. That's the name of the girl in the book. I named her Little Miss So-and-so. Then he says to Mom, on top of all this, we have a kid that can't hear. Mom eats her food, doesn't look up, doesn't want to get hit. Why did she tell? Your mother went out and bought you a present and this is how you repay her? He says, pointing his fork at me, eating another Sloppy Joe. The meat spills out on the plate. Mom sits up super straight in her chair, the way she does when she's nervous. I didn't want the hat she gave me, but I can't say I hate the hat. I have to make him stop thinking about the hat so he doesn't see that the purse is gone, the purse that he told me never to take off. He points his fork, chews hard. It'll be okay, husband, Mom says. Mad Dad is getting steamed. These things sometimes happen, she's just a child. No, it's not okay, Mad Dad says, stops chewing. Why aren't you watching her better? And now me and Mom really see it coming. Here it comes, steam whistle shooting through my brain. Woo woo! What the hell is wrong with you, you stupid bitch? Mad Dad says to Mom. I stop eating. She says. I nothing, he says. No excuses. He stands up, hits her across the face, snaps her neck. She makes a noise. Stupid bitch, our kid is fucking up in school because of you. She covers her face. He hits her again. Sloppy Joe meat on my fork. Mad Dad picks up the edge of the table till the dishes fall off on top of Mom and me. Jumps up, the pan of Sloppy Joe meat falls in Mom's lap. She screams, get upstairs, she yells at me. Stupid fucking dumb bitch, Mad Dad hits her arms. Get upstairs, she swings at me. I run upstairs 2 at a time. Who cares if my arms hurt? I close the door, get in bed, listen to them scream. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Bitch, stop, please. I'm sorry, crashing, no more sound. My light is out, hide under my quilt, don't move, don't blink. My animals, eyes in the dark. Baby, I'm sorry, baby, that you have to go through this. I'm sorry, baby. Wake up, Mom's crying. Sorry, petting my hair. Baby, I'm sorry, he's gone. He had a drink, he didn't mean it. I see her face in the moonlight through the curtain. He didn't, I said nothing. She told him, baby, my arm hurts. Baby, her tears drop on my face. Forgive me, shh, go to sleep, it's gonna be all right. Her cheek is bruised. I can see it in the moonlight. Get some sleep. I'm sorry, baby, you don't deserve this. He didn't mean it. Go to sleep, we'll forget about it. In the morning, okay, we'll have pancakes. She wipes her face. Her tears drip down my neck. They're cold. Jack closes the door, turns up the heater. We have to idle for 4 minutes. Even though I'm the only one getting on at this stop, Patty hasn't been around for 4 days. Mad Dad's been gone for 2 ever since he threw the table on Mom. The other kids scream and yell. I stare out the window at nothing. The day is a gray, blur, cold, rainy. Katie sits in the seat in front of me. She's in 2nd grade. She lives behind me, next to the vacant lot. She breathes on the glass, fogs it up, draws hearts with her fingertip. Jack revs the bus. No Patty. I left my purse at school again. Dad's not home to see that I don't have it. It's a gray nothing outside. I stare. The bus jumps forward, then kids yell, hey, bus driver, wait. Jack looks in his long side mirror. The bus sighs, then stops. Some kids are pointing, yelling. I kneel on my seat. I see Patty running down Rose Avenue and then up the bus steps. Her cheeks are red, her hair is wet, stuck back in a ponytail. A boy yells, hey, it's P-Girl. Then the other kids laugh, talk. They're not interested in Patty, the girl who used to pee in her seat, wear stinky clothes. Jack nods, shuts the door. I stare at her long, saggy jeans, dark blue zipper sweatshirt, white bumper broken in Reebok tennis shoes. Hey, she says, slides into my seat. What's happening? Her face is red and white and wet. Everyone is talking. No one is paying attention to her anymore. She punches my shoulder. It doesn't hurt. Patty is back. She puts her hands into her sweatshirt pockets. Hey, she says again, balls her hands up under her sweatshirt. She's nervous, stares at the top of the seat in front of us. Green padded vinyl in case our heads hit it during an accident. I lean on it. The hard padding feels good on my forehead. Patty's back. Jack takes a corner sharp, slides Patty into me, smashes me against the window. Katie's heart slips, makes a jaded line like a V. The boys yell, "Ew, get off me." "Sorry, kids." Jack waves his hand in the rearview mirror, straightens the bus. "Shut up," a boy yells from the back. Patty's still on top of me, past the blonde brick apartment building, square and fast, past the baseball fields, past the woods, past the pond, past the park, wet swing sets, monkey bars, chain link fence, gas station. Insurance company building sign says, "Have 5 minutes, stop in. We'll drop your price by 25% guaranteed. See us for all your needs." Patty's still on top of me. I think this must mean she likes me, doesn't hate me, her hands balled in her sweatshirt pockets. Puddles in the school parking lot, a line of dark orange buses, wet, creepy crawling kids like swarming bees. Patty's squishing me. "Stay in your seats until we reach the front." Jack holds up his hand, brakes, idles. Everyone sits on the edges of their seats. Patty doesn't move. I don't move. The bus lurches, idles, lurches, idles. Patty takes her left hand out, keeps it in a ball, puts it on her leg. "Stupid idiot," someone yells. Patty unfolds her fingers, puts her hand on my leg. "Dink," someone shouts. "Hey," Jack yells, lifts his hand. Patty grabs my hand, holds it tight. "All right, everyone off." Jack opens the door. It cuts in half, slides apart. Before I know what I'm doing, I grab Patty, kiss her on the cheek. Her hand pokes me in the stomach. All the other kids in the aisle pushing to get out. The cold air rushes in through the door. "Leslie's dykes, look at that, gays, freaks, fags, look at that. A girl kissed another girl." "Ooh," all the girls yell. They don't touch our seat when they walk by. They lean away from us. My hands drop down. I stare at the seat, think, oh no. Patty looks out the window. It's raining in straight lines. The other kids are yelling, laughing, grossing out. They run onto the playground. "P girl and the 5th grade girl kiss. They're Leslie's dykes, fags, freaks." I put my forehead on the seat. Oh no, I don't know what I just did. Patty doesn't say anything. Did I do something bad? Does she think so? "Come on, girls," Jack says, looking at us in the rearview mirror. "I don't know what happened, but you need to get off the bus." "Jump in a puddle," Patty says, and stomps with 2 feet flat-footed, sprays mud water all over the slide. All the other kids are inside. "Let's go." And so we do. We run Rocky style, our fists in the air. "Yo, Adrian," around the outside of the school. We spy around the corners, our bodies pushed up against the brick. We spy, looking for teachers and janitors and hall monitors. We move slow, we're sneaky, then fast. Patty makes a pose, Bruce Jenner. I laugh like it's California sun on my face, like I know nothing else but happiness, like Payne Avenue is not 1 block away, like Mad Dad is dead, Mom and me live in an apartment somewhere, like me and Patty will be together, best friends forever and ever. I love her long saggy jeans, Bruce Jenner muscles. I laugh like Mad Dad won't smash the nighttime, whip me, hit me, break me. I laugh and I laugh and I laugh. Patty's cheeks, dark wet sweatshirt, ducking, running, spying. I laugh like there's nothing else in all the world. Nothing else in all the world but me and Patty and the puddles. Wet mud on the cuffs of our jeans. We're late for school and we laugh like there's nothing else in all the world but us. "Yo, Adrian," my fist in the air. Rain hits our faces. Gray day, cold day, we're late for school day. Patty's shoes are muddy and wet. Her cheeks are rose red. Her breath comes out of her mouth like lace. She grabs me, pushes me against the school. Bricks bite into my head, but I don't care. She holds me, rain and lines from the sky. Patty holds me, she kisses me, her breath on my lips. "Let's go," she whispers. "Okay," I say, her lips and cheeks rose red. We are Bruce Jenner. We are Martina Navratilova. We are Ahmad Rashad, Fran Tarkington, Muhammad Ali. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Fists above our head, Rocky Balboa style. I am Rocky. "Yo, Adrian, I love you." We run across the playground, around the slide, through the swings, push them high in the air. The other kids are in school. We run. The cuffs on our jeans are wet. They hit our ankles. We don't care. We run faster than anyone has ever run before. "Yo, Adrian, I love you." Faster than anyone has ever run before, over the sidewalk, across the baseball field, red, thick sand on our shoes. We run over left field into the trees, black trees, dark trees, wet trees. With wet black skin, they stand over us with curled branches. We run, our feet move, our muscles are strong, laughing. Where are we going? I don't know, I don't care. We run, we breathe, listen to our breath, listen to our breath, listen to our breath. We run under the trees to the other side, me and Patty, away from school, the laughing kids, dykes, fags, freaks. We bend over our breath, knitting together. I can do anything, the strongest person in all the world when I'm with Patty, my best friend forever and ever. We laugh, high five, like she scored a goal, I made a save. Nothing can break us apart. Me and Patty stand, then we run, laugh, breathe, like there's nothing else in the world but us. Thank you.